The smell of grease and metal always clung to Ethan Cole like a second skin. He'd been working at Bennett's auto garage for nearly 12 years, long enough that his hands had grown tougher than leather and his heart, though tired, was still kind. On that particular afternoon, the sun bled gold through the cracked windows of the workshop, throwing streaks of light across oil-stained floors. The air buzzed with the clatter of wrenches and the low hum of engines being revived. To most people, it was just another ordinary day. But for Ethan, that day would change everything. Before we dive deeper into this powerful story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Soul Spark, where real stories meet real emotions. Your support helps us bring you more heart-touching tales just like this one. It started with the sound of sputtering. An old, faded blue sedan rolled to a stop just outside the shop. The hood was half hanging, and smoke curled up into the air. Behind the wheel sat an elderly woman, gray-haired, frail, and visibly distressed. She looked out of place in a world that moved too fast for her. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag and walked out, his boots clanking against the concrete. "Mom, you all right?" he asked softly. The woman looked up at him with watery eyes. "I'm sorry, son. I was on my way to see my doctor. The car just stopped. I don't have much money, but if you could just take a quick look." Her voice trembled, and Ethan could tell this wasn't just about the car. There was something else. A heaviness in her tone, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from a single bad day, but from years of carrying life's burdens. He smiled gently. "Don't worry about it. Let me see what I can do." Inside the shop, Ethan pushed the car into a corner bay. His boss, Calvin Bennett, stood nearby with a clipboard, watching like a hawk. Calvin was a man whose heart seemed made of metal, cold, unyielding, and polished only by profit. He built the garage from the ground up, but somewhere along the way, he started measuring worth in dollars instead of decency. "Ethan," Calvin barked, "what's that car doing here? She pay for diagnostics yet?" Ethan hesitated. "She's an older lady, sir. Just needs a quick fix, probably a bad alternator." "I can take care of it." Calvin cut him off sharply. "You can take care of it once she pays. We're not a charity." The old woman stood at the doorway, clutching her worn purse like it was her last possession. Ethan looked at her trembling hands and made a decision. One that came not from the mind, but from the heart. "Sir, I'll handle it. No charge." Calvin's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me, I said I'll fix it for free. She's got a doctor's appointment. It won't take long." Calvin's jaw tightened, but Ethan didn't wait for a response. He popped the hood, got to work, and within half an hour, the engine hummed back to life. The old woman smiled through tears, whispering a soft, "God bless you, son." She reached into her purse to offer a few crumpled bills, but Ethan gently pushed her hand away. "Just promise me you'll get to your appointment safely, all right?" She nodded, eyes glistening, before driving off slowly down the dusty road. Ethan felt good, the kind of good that comes from doing what's right. But as he turned back, Calvin was standing there, arms crossed, expression like a storm brewing. "Office. Now." The sound of that single word, "now," sent a chill through Ethan's chest. Inside the small, dim office that smelled of coffee and rubber, Calvin slammed the clipboard onto the desk. "Do you have any idea what you just did? You gave away free labor." "Free? We're running a business here, not a soup kitchen." Ethan's voice was calm but firm. "Sir, it was one car. She's elderly and struggling. Sometimes doing the right thing is worth more than a few dollars." Calvin's lip curled. "You think you're a hero. You're an employee, not a saint. You don't make the rules here. I do. Pack your tools. You're done." The words hit like a hammer. Ethan stood there stunned, his chest tightening as if the air itself had been stripped away. "You're firing me. For helping someone." Calvin leaned back. "For disobeying me. You're lucky I'm not docking your last paycheck." Ethan didn't argue. He knew there was no point. He quietly took off his work gloves, laid them on the desk, and walked out of the garage that had been his second home for over a decade. That night, Ethan sat alone in his small apartment. The walls were thin, the heater barely worked, and the fridge hummed in the silence. His hands, still streaked with grease, lay motionless on the table. He had bills to pay, a sick mother in a nursing home, and now, no job. But even through the exhaustion, he didn't regret what he'd done. The next few days were hard. He filled out job applications, walked from shop to shop, but most said the same thing. "We're not hiring right now." By the fourth day, he was sitting at a diner nursing a cup of cheap coffee when a TV on the wall caught his attention. A news anchor's voice broke through the background chatter. And in local news, a story of kindness and integrity is going viral this week. A mechanic was fired for fixing an elderly woman's car for free. That woman, as it turns out, is Margaret Hayes, a retired schoolteacher battling cancer. Ethan froze. The screen showed a picture of the old blue sedan, the one he'd fixed, and a smiling photo of the same woman he'd helped. The report continued. Hayes posted a heartfelt message online, describing how a kind mechanic named Ethan Cole refused to take her money and made sure she got to her doctor's appointment. Her post has been shared over 2 million times, and community members are now searching for Ethan to thank him personally. The diner erupted in chatter. Ethan sat there, stunned, staring at the TV as if it were some kind of dream. His name, his act, had become a story of compassion spreading like wildfire. Within hours, local reporters began visiting auto shops across town looking for him, and by evening, a news van parked outside his apartment complex. Cameras flashed as he stepped out, nervous but humble. "Mr. Cole," one reporter asked, "how does it feel to know your kindness touched millions?" He smiled faintly. "I didn't do it to be noticed. I just did what anyone should do when someone needs help." The next morning, his phone buzzed relentlessly. Among the dozens of missed calls and messages, one stood out, a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. "Mr. Cole, this is Harper Automotive Group. We'd like to offer you a position. Head mechanic at our new service center. We've heard about what you did, and we want people like you representing our company." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to breathe. Meanwhile, back at Bennett's auto garage, Calvin watched the same story unfold on his office TV. His jaw tightened as he saw the flood of support pouring in for Ethan. People were leaving angry reviews, condemning the shop for firing a man over kindness. By the end of the week, Calvin's business was crumbling. Customers canceled appointments, mechanics quit, and a "for sale" sign went up on the front gate. Fate, it seemed, had its own sense of justice. Ethan didn't rejoice in Calvin's downfall. He just kept working humbly and quietly at his new job. But something had changed in him. The belief that one act of goodness could ripple farther than he ever imagined. He began organizing free repair events for struggling families and taught young apprentices not just how to fix engines, but how to fix lives. With empathy, honesty, and compassion. If you've been moved by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul Spark, where stories like this remind us of the power of kindness and humanity. One day, as he was closing up the shop, Ethan heard a familiar voice behind him. "You still fixing cars for free, young man?" He turned. It was Margaret, smiling, holding a small basket of cookies. "I heard you got a new job. I just wanted to say thank you again. Because of you, I made it to my treatment that day. You didn't just fix my car. Ethan, you gave me hope." He smiled, eyes soft with emotion. "You gave me hope too, ma'am." The two stood there in the fading sunlight, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can echo louder than the loudest engines. And as the evening breeze rustled through the street, Ethan looked up at the sky, the same golden hue that had once lit up the dusty floor of that old garage, and whispered, "Maybe the world still got some good left in it after all." This story reminds us that kindness never goes to waste. In a world obsessed with profits, it's compassion that truly enriches lives. Ethan lost his job for doing the right thing, but gained something much greater: purpose, respect, and the love of millions. Because in the end, no act of goodness, however small, ever truly dies.